From skyscrapers to airports, hospitals to hotels, sports arenas to parking garages, practically anywhere you look, structures made of structural steel can be found. In fact, for every concrete building, there are approximately 2 steel buildings built, making it the dominant building material in the U.S. today.
Structural steel is the most used structural material in the U.S. today because of its high strength, its durability, its adaptability, and its inherent sustainable characteristics. Structural steel generates less construction waste on a project than any other construction material. Physically, it's a very lightweight material, and it leaves a very small footprint on a building project, while exhibiting a very high strength-to-weight ratio.
And as steel fabrication technology continues to grow and improve, more and more architects are rethinking what was once thought to be too complicated, creating structures that combine grace, art, and function.
There's no other material that really gives us the flexibility from a structural standpoint as steel. It allows us to be very expressive in the way that we put buildings together.
The steel used in the U.S. today is 40% stronger than the steel used just 10 years ago. New manufacturing processes have reduced the amount of energy required to make steel by 1/3, and greenhouse gas emissions have been reduced in those facilities by nearly 40%. At the same time, automation of the facilities has reduced the amount of man-hours it takes to produce 1 ton of steel from 11 man-hours down to just 1/2 of a man-hour. Steel is a 21st century material manufactured in new facilities using processes that are environmentally sensitive and highly efficient.
While strength, durability, and flexibility in design are commonly thought of as hallmarks of structural steel, much of the general public and even the construction industry isn't cognizant of the environmental attributes of structural steel. Steel is the original green material, and today's reborn structural steel industry is in fact setting the standard for all green, environmentally efficient materials used in the U.S.
We design sustainable buildings, and we like for the building to express that sustainability. And steel, unlike any other material, you can get such a high recycled content in steel that you can directly tell a story about where the steel came from and create new functional buildings out of it.
Steel can be reused over and over again. I know that structural steel shapes are a lot stronger than what they used to be, so there's less tonnage that's required for a project. And so if there's less tonnage, there's less construction debris. If there's less construction debris, there's less waste that's generated at project sites. And so if steel is that recyclable, and you can recycle that many times over, that's not only friendly to the environment, but very sensitive to the environment, but also it helps out with the overall environmental footprint of your facility.
Unlike other materials, structural steel is what is known as a cradle-to-cradle material, meaning it can be recycled literally over and over with no loss of quality or mass. The result after multi-cycling is a product with a 93% recycled content.
To be truly recyclable, a material should be able to be recycled multiple times into the same or similar quality product. An old car, an old fridge, an old appliance, an old steel frame can be recycled multiple times into a new steel beam.
Not only is steel a green material, but the steel-making process is getting greener as well.
Just as scrap metal is a recyclable commodity, water is a commodity. And water is a big issue in this part of Arkansas. And so we're doing what we can to reduce the amount of fresh groundwater usage at this facility. We use probably about 70 gallons of water per ton of steel made here. The water is reused several times over. We take great caution as far as how much water we use at this facility.
The structural steel manufacturing process is essentially a steel recycling process. Modern steel mills are in essence steel recycling facilities. Cars, refrigerators, toasters, and other appliances no longer in use are shredded into ferrous scrap metal at scrap metal yards. The scrap metal is separated and categorized according to type and sold to steel producers.
Basically what we do here is we take scrap metal from all over the United States and we grade it. There's about 7 different types of scrap, and that scrap is put into a charge bucket, and it's layered, kind of like a cake is layered. And it's a mixture just like in a cake. It goes into an electric arc furnace. It takes about 35 minutes to take the scrap metal to molten steel, about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it's put into a ladle, which is carried to the caster and cast into a beam blank. After that, it's taken to the rolling mill and rolled into a final product, which are structural beams that are sent throughout the United States and the world.
When the steelmaking process is complete, the structural steel producer ships the steel to a steel service center, a kind of warehouse for structural steel, or directly to a steel fabricator, which fashions the steel according to the requirements through the use of automated machinery.
Generally, the fabrication process starts for us when we receive a set of design drawings from the owner or from a design firm who has been hired by the owner. Once we receive those drawings, we prepare a set of shop drawings, and each piece is shown on a shop drawing in great detail. It shows holes, dimensions, copes, cuts, everything you need to fabricate that piece. And most of the dimensions are controlled down to a 1/16 of an inch.
One example of how structural steel contributes to the sustainability of a building project and to the stewardship of the environment is the headquarters of Heifer International. A nonprofit humanitarian organization, Heifer International sought to reflect its ideals of social, economic, and environmental sustainability in its new headquarters in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Heifer outgrew our headquarters here in Little Rock, so we were looking for new office space. And Heifer's mission is to end hunger and care for the earth. We work with communities around the world, giving them livestock and training, and we encourage them to use sustainable farming techniques. So it only made sense that we would want to do that here at home as well. So we set out to build an environmentally responsible building, and we were looking for sustainable solutions as much as possible.
For Heifer International, we wanted the building to reflect their mission. They have a sustainable mission. We wanted the building itself, the columns, actually expand into the wetland that we're recreating. This site was once a wetland years before man touched it. So we're creating a rhythm of columns here in this building that's reflected in the rhythm of the actual trees through the site and the wetland itself. No other material would have allowed us to do that other than structural steel.
We were involved in the Heifer project from the very early stages and attended several meetings when the job was just a concept. As a matter of fact, originally the building started out, they had 18-inch round concrete columns. And as the architect looked at that and the feasibility of building those columns to the precision required came under review, they decided to change and use 18-inch round steel columns. Steel did a good job of saving them money and allowing them to build a building which had a very unique appearance and yet work within an economical price structure.
Sustainable building practices have become as important to the success of a project as quality construction and efficient design. Steel meets the necessities of today without jeopardizing the needs of tomorrow. Steel clearly offers sustainable benefits in a world that needs sustainable solutions. To learn more, visit the American Institute of Steel Construction's website at aisc.org.